Hi everyone, I'm Roxy, your independent financial protection agent. Today we're talking about a wild story out of a little upstate New York town. It's about trust, small town relationships, and how one man convinced nearly 1,000 people to hand him their savings, only for it to all collapse. Picture Hamilton, New York, a cozy college town near Syracuse with about 4,000 residents. The kind of place where everybody knows everybody. And at the center of it was Burt Marshall. He wasn't some slick Wall Street guy. He was the hometown man. The Marshall family had built up a respected real estate empire over generations, with Burt eventually controlling more than 100 rental properties in and around town. On top of that, he dabbled in other small businesses, a print shop, storage units, and even tax prep, all with offices right on Main Street. To locals, the Marshall name wasn't just familiar, it meant stability. But what really drew people in wasn't the business front, it was Burt himself. He came across as warm, generous, and deeply woven into the community. He'd remember birthdays with a phone call, host parties where everyone felt welcome, and even hand out little gift bags with maple syrup, pickles, and honey. Each with a playful slogan like, "Stick with me, I'll sweeten your savings." Doctors, professors, church groups, apparently some snowmobile clubs invested in him. It was entire families too, parents, kids, grandkids. And why not? They felt safe because he was familiar. He was one of them. The problem? That kind of trust wasn't backed by regulators, oversight, or financial reserves. It was backed by charm and history. And that's a dangerous foundation for your life savings. So here's the pitch. Marshall offered what became known as the 8% fund. According to investigators, people would give him money to invest in local real estate. In return, he promised an 8% return every year, regardless of market fluctuations. Guaranteed. Sounds amazing, right? But here's the key difference. With something like a real annuity, guarantees are backed by a large, highly regulated insurance company. These firms are regulated by law to hold massive reserves. Companies like MassMutual have been around and making their payouts for over 170 years. Think about that. Through the Civil War, the Great Depression, World War I, and World War II, and they still never missed an obligation. Marshall didn't have any kind of backing. His guarantees, investigators say, were just his word. Behind the scenes, prosecutors allege Marshall's empire wasn't as solid as it looked. Sure, he had over 100 properties, but being a landlord isn't the same as running a money machine. Vacancies, maintenance, repairs, taxes, it all eats into the cash flow. And the reality, according to the bankruptcy filings, was that his rentals weren't producing enough steady income to cover the 8% he was promising people. That's the danger of making promises you can't back up. If the cash flow doesn't show up, you've got two choices: admit you can't pay or cover it another way. Prosecutors allege he chose the later. Like every other Ponzi-style scheme, new investors' money was used to pay earlier ones. On paper, it looked fine. His office even printed statements showing balances and interest earned. And when people asked questions, investigators say he deflected. Sometimes he blamed the banks, sometimes his health, at one point citing over $600,000 in medical bills. Anything to keep the trust alive a little longer. And that's the danger. It only lasts so long. Like Warren Buffett said, it takes 20 years to build a reputation and 5 minutes to ruin it. He didn't just ruin his own reputation, he dragged the whole Marshall legacy through the mud. In April 2023, the House of Cards finally fell. Marshall filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, showing over $90 million in debts and only about $21.5 million in assets, most tied up with real estate. Nearly 1,000 investors were left hanging. Some retirees lost their entire nest egg. Families who thought they were secure had to start over. Then on June 9th, 2025, New York Attorney General Letitia James announced his arrest. That same day, a 49-count indictment was unsealed, charging him with grand larceny, securities fraud, and scheme to defraud. Prosecutors allege he defrauded 988 investors over more than 3 decades. Marshall pleaded not guilty at his arraignment before Judge Rhonda Youngs on June 9, 2025. He was released on his own recognizance, ordered to surrender his passport, and restricted to New York State. If convicted, he could face 10 to 20 years in prison. So what's the takeaway? If someone promises you guaranteed returns and it's coming just from them, whether it's a small town agent or even a big personality with a fancy office, that's not enough. You don't want guaranteed based on one person's word or reputation. Real guarantees come from institutions that are federally regulated, audited to the teeth, and required by law to keep reserves. That's why they survived wars, depressions, and recessions, and still paid every penny they owed. That's the difference between trusting a neighbor with your savings and trusting a system that's built to protect you. That's why so many people prefer financial protection products that are guaranteed, transparent, and backed by regulated companies. So you're not depending on one man's word or some small town handshake. If you found this breakdown helpful, give this video a like and share it with someone who needs to hear it. And I'd love to know your thoughts. Drop a comment below. I'll be covering more stories like this along with safe strategies to protect your retirement. So stick around and always stay safe out there.